WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just, it's obviously...
The sports world has just witnessed a clash that will leave lasting marks on the WNBA for years to come. In a move that shocked analysts and left team owners deeply concerned, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has officially announced that the current collective bargaining agreement negotiations are essentially dead. This isn't a delay, it's a total shutdown. Communication has collapsed, and it signals the beginning of a serious conflict between the league office and the very athletes who power the sport. While the official statements reference financial structure and sustainability, insiders know the truth runs much deeper and far more personal. The real trigger behind this collapse wasn't a budget sheet or earnings forecast. It was reportedly a refusal from the one person the league cannot afford to lose: Caitlin Clark. For the first time, the league's biggest attraction has pushed back, and the fallout now threatens to rip the WNBA apart at the exact moment it should be celebrating its greatest success. To understand just how severe this breakdown is, we need to look back at the last 18 months. Caitlin Clark's arrival didn't just increase ratings, it shattered the WNBA's existing financial model. Before she entered the league, the WNBA operated in survival mode. Revenue was modest, growth was slow, and players were expected to be grateful for small improvements. The 2020 CBA was written for that league, a league still fighting for relevance. But once Clark stepped on the court, everything changed. Ticket prices in arenas she visited surged by over 300%. TV networks began competing aggressively, ultimately leading to a historic multi-billion-dollar media deal. Suddenly, the league was flooded with money. Yet the players, the ones actually creating that revenue, were still stuck under contracts that treated them like side gig employees rather than the stars driving the business. This growing financial disconnect created a pressure-filled atmosphere inside locker rooms across the league. On one side, the WNBA proudly promoted record-breaking growth and soaring valuations. On the other, players like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and veterans such as Breanna Stewart were being told the league still couldn't afford private travel or fair revenue sharing. The contradiction became impossible to ignore. Players listened as the commissioner delivered optimistic speeches about the future, all while knowing they wouldn't see a single dollar from the new media deal until at least 2027. The frustration was real, but what was missing was a voice powerful enough to force real change. The union had strength, but the league held the money. What they needed was leverage, someone more valuable to the league's finances than any owner. That person was Caitlin Clark. And the turning point happened quietly, far from cameras. Reports began circulating that the league had approached its biggest stars with new marketing initiatives, documentaries, campaigns, and branding pushes designed to monetize the surge of new fans. And, as always, Caitlin Clark was expected to be the centerpiece. But this time, instead of automatic cooperation, the league hit resistance. Sources claim that Clark, along with a coalition of top-tier players, refused to participate in these extra revenue-generating projects under the current compensation structure. It was essentially a silent strike. Clark didn't need to make a public statement. By simply withholding her involvement, she froze the league's ability to profit from her celebrity. The message was unmistakable. You don't get the Caitlin Clark business unless you pay Caitlin Clark value. That refusal lit the match that burned the negotiations to the ground. Commissioner Engelbert, known for her corporate background and carefully controlled approach, suddenly found herself trapped. She couldn't force players to promote a league they believed was exploiting them. So when she announced that negotiations had ended, it wasn't just a procedural update, it was a defensive tactic. She wanted to re-establish control of the narrative, showing owners and the public that she would not be intimidated by player power, even when that power belongs to the biggest star in American sports. But this move is risky. By shutting down talks, she may end up alienating the very athletes who create the product fans pay to see. At its core, this dispute isn't only about base salaries, it's about equity. In the NBA, players receive roughly a 50-50 split of basketball-related income, meaning when the league earns more, the players automatically do too. WNBA players do not have that system, leaving them locked out of the financial boom they helped create. Revenue sharing for WNBA players only kicks in once the league reaches extremely high financial targets, thresholds that were nearly impossible before Caitlin Clark arrived. Now that those goals are finally within reach, the players are realizing the targets were always designed like a mirage. Owners are structuring expenses in ways that keep the shared revenue pool artificially small. Clark's refusal to cooperate with the league's marketing demands highlights this injustice clearly. Why should she help the league generate hundreds of millions when her own income remains capped at a tiny fraction of that amount? The math simply no longer adds up, and she knows it. Then there is the new competitor league, which complicates things even further. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier have launched a 3-on-3 league offering six-figure salaries and equity shares. This alternative finally gives WNBA players something they never had before, a real backup option. For the first time, players have a plan B. If Kathy Engelbert shuts down the WNBA or forces a lockout, the Stars now have somewhere else to go, a league that will actually pay them what they believe they're worth. Reports suggest Caitlin Clark already has a massive offer waiting for her. Her refusal to submit to WNBA demands is strengthened by the fact that she no longer needs the WNBA to stay wealthy or famous. This shifts the balance of power completely. Engelbert is no longer negotiating with desperate athletes. She's dealing with stars who already have their bags packed and private flights ready. And then there's the timing. Her announcement came immediately after the Players' Union officially opted out of the CBA. That move was expected, but the aggressive response from the league was not. Instead of a joint statement about ongoing positive negotiations, we got a declaration that talks were finished. This makes it clear the players' demands, likely driven by Clark's influence, were seen as unacceptable from the start. We are likely talking about demands for league-wide charter flights, huge salary cap increases, and possibly even retroactive compensation for the last 2 years of undervalued play. Owners, many of whom have become accustomed to claiming financial losses, were stunned by the cost. But here's the twist. The fans are not siding with ownership. Public opinion has completely shifted. For years, the argument was simple. The WNBA doesn't make money, so the players can't be paid more. That excuse is gone now. The media deals destroyed it. Fans see packed arenas. They see jerseys selling out. So when they hear that negotiations collapsed because the league refused player demands, they don't see responsible business. They see greed. Caitlin Clark has turned her popularity into leverage. She is no longer just an athlete. She is a movement. And by refusing to accept the narrative of be grateful and stay quiet, she has exposed a league leadership that appears disconnected from reality. The darker layer to all this involves the rumored bridge deal. Reports suggested the league wanted a temporary short-term agreement to keep peace until the new media money begins flowing in 2026. This would have protected the owners while delaying any real structural change. Clark reportedly refused to support this patchwork solution, and that refusal likely ended negotiations entirely. A bridge deal benefits ownership. It buys them time to adjust accounting and restructure revenue. By insisting on a permanent, transparent solution now, the players are forcing owners to open their financial books immediately. That level of transparency is exactly what the league does not want. They prefer to control information flow, but Clark's stance has blown that door wide open. And then there's the charter flight saga. For years, players were told private flights were completely unaffordable. Yet the moment Clark entered the league, suddenly $25 million appeared to fund a charter travel program. This revealed the truth. The money was always there. It was simply never prioritized for the players. That realization shattered trust, and now it forms the foundation of the current tension. Players feel deceived. So, when the commissioner declares negotiations over, what they really hear is the league saying it's done pretending to care about fairness. Clark, who has personally experienced the chaos and security risks of commercial travel while being one of the most recognizable athletes in America, has no patience left for cost-cutting excuses. Her refusal is a direct response to years of neglect. What happens now? That is the billion-dollar question. If Engelbert refuses to back down, the league could be headed straight toward a lockout in 2026. A lockout would be disastrous. Imagine the WNBA's momentum slamming into a brick wall while arenas sit empty. Networks that just spent billions would erupt in anger. Sponsors would vanish. Fans would drift away. Engelbert knows this, but she's gambling that most players, unlike Clark, cannot financially survive a shutdown and will eventually give in. It is a cold corporate strategy, and one that may backfire spectacularly. But that strategy may backfire. Clark's refusal has united the players like never before. Bench players want higher salaries. Stars want revenue sharing. And Clark, refusing to take a private side deal, has become the glue holding the union together. Engelbert's move to end negotiations is meant to scare the players into cracking. But if Clark stands firm, it may actually be the league office that panics. There could also be legal consequences if the league is seen as bargaining in bad faith, something the union's lawyers are watching closely. If Engelbert really shut down talks without a legitimate reason, the National Labor Relations Board could get involved, turning this into a legal war as well as a PR one. Meanwhile, Clark dominates public opinion. Even the team owners aren't fully united. The older owners fear spending money, while newer ownership groups, like Golden State, want to invest and grow the league. Clark's stance gives those progressive owners leverage. They need her on the court, not locked out. And the longer she resists, the more pressure builds on Engelbert. The league may also try to label the players, especially Clark, as greedy, comparing their pay demands to average American salaries. But that strategy is dangerous. Clark was already a superstar before joining the WNBA. She brought her audience, not the other way around. If the league attacks her publicly, fans could revolt. Clark has chosen quiet resistance instead of loud demands, making it very difficult for the league to portray her as the villain. This moment represents a generational shift. Past players were told to simply be grateful the league existed. Clark rejects that mindset completely. She comes from the nil era, where college athletes earned millions. She knows her worth and refuses to operate from fear or scarcity. Her stance exposes how fragile the WNBA's business model really is. Engelbert is trying to achieve profitability by suppressing pay, a strategy that might work in retail but fails in superstar-driven sports. You can't limit the earning power of a star like Clark without risking the entire league. Major sponsors, Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, invested heavily in the WNBA largely because of Clark. They never expected a lockout or public labor war. If Clark refuses to engage, it hurts sponsor campaigns and ramps up pressure on the league. She's using leverage without asking for anything publicly, a masterclass in negotiation. But the real question is, what are the players willing to sacrifice? A lockout means missed paychecks, which would devastate lower-paid players. That's why rumors suggest top stars, including Clark, are creating a financial support fund to protect teammates during the standoff. If the rumors are true that the top players, including Clark, are building a financial support fund for teammates, then the owner's biggest weapon, fear of lost income, is gone. If players can afford to sit out, the owners lose everything. Empty arenas, spoiled concessions, and lost TV revenue. Owners still have massive overhead costs. Players only risk their talent, and a united union backed by the richest female athlete in history becomes incredibly powerful. The commissioner's announcement has also thrown the upcoming draft into confusion. College stars are now watching a league in chaos. Why would future superstars rush to join a league that is fighting its own players? This labor war could push them toward unrivaled or Europe instead. Clark's refusal sends a message to young players: don't sign until the deal is fair. This crisis could damage the WNBA's recruiting pipeline for the next decade. When Engelbert says negotiations are over, it usually means ownership is preparing a final take-it-or-leave-it deal, daring the players to strike. But that strategy depends on the players being powerless. Caitlin Clark has already proven they aren't. She was a superstar long before the WNBA, and she'll remain one wherever she goes. The days when the league controlled fame are gone. Now the power lies with individual brands, not league logos. Engelbert is fighting with an old-school mindset in a completely new media world. We've all seen the intense rivalries, hard fouls, social media drama, constant debates. But inside the union meetings, those rivalries disappear. On labor issues, Aya Wilson and Caitlin Clark are allies. Both are fighting a system that profits from their rivalry while underpaying them. Clark's refusal likely isn't a solo move, it's coordinated. If Clark refuses, you can bet Wilson, Reese, and Stewart aren't far behind. The commissioner isn't facing one rebellious player, she's facing a united movement.